Hello, I'm back again. Today I wanted to share with you a story, my healthcare story actually, because today, December 18th, is, for lack of a better word, my Cancerversary, or at least that's what we refer to it in the cancer community. 13 years ago today, I was diagnosed with leukemia. And I bring it up because I believe it fits into the broader picture of how the Affordable Care Act and healthcare in this country is delivered, as well as any changes or possible repeal that may be coming once we have a new president and Congress installed in January. So I will take you back to December of 2003. I had been living in the New York City area for about 14 months. I had moved there from Cincinnati to pursue a professional acting career, something I'd always dreamed of doing, and I loved it. I was cast into plays, I was taking classes and networking, but as much as I loved it, there were so many times when it was emotionally difficult as well as financially difficult. So by December of that year, I was ready to escape the rat race and head to my hometown in southern Indiana to spend Christmas with my family. This would be the first Christmas in my parents' new home, and everybody was going to be there. And my father finally had the fireplace he'd always dreamed of. So I'd imagine myself sitting before a roaring fire, sipping cocoa, or in my case, more likely wine, and listening to Christmas music, watching Christmas movies, playing games, just hanging out. I mean, Christmas in my family is a huge deal. Always has been. Hopefully it always will be. The 5 days to my leaving for Tell City, I had a doctor's appointment for some follow-up urology tests that I'd had, and everything was fine. And before I left, my doctor asked me if there were any other concerns that I had. And to this day, I often wonder if she hadn't asked me if there were any issues, if I would have told her what was going on in my body. Because for the last few months, I had been noticing more bruising on my legs. And I'd never been prone to bruising, but I just kind of chalked it up to maybe a vitamin deficiency of some sort, or getting older. I was 37 at the time. But it was getting harder to ignore because there were more bruises appearing and they weren't going away. So she took one look at my legs and sent me down to the laboratory to get some blood work done. And a couple days later, I was in the hospital in Hackensack University Medical Center being told that I had leukemia. I spent 10 days in the hospital, and my chemotherapy began at 8 p.m. on Christmas Eve. That was certainly not the holiday I'd envisioned. After that hospital stay, I moved into my sister Barbara's home, where she and her husband Dan took over all my care and my expenses. Multiple hospitalizations for high-dose chemotherapy would be involved, as well as a possible bone marrow transplant. At the time, I was unemployed, my savings was nearly depleted, and my COBRA coverage was set to expire in 2 months. So my major concern at the time was, would I have health insurance after February? And even if I did, would my cancer treatments be covered? Because cancer is a major pre-existing condition. So it was, as I successfully transferred into the individual health insurance market, that Barbara and Dan's financial assistance was even more needed, because I went from paying $273 a month to $659 a month. And that was not underwritten for my disease. It was just what people in that risk pool in the state of New Jersey with Cigna were paying. Everybody who was in that plan paid that amount of money. So I guess my question to you is, one, do you know if your current healthcare coverage is adequate should you face an acute or chronic illness or a medical emergency? Second, do you even have healthcare coverage? I tell people all the time, it is absolutely vital to have good health care coverage, because in our system, if you don't, the consequences can be catastrophic. That first hospital stay of mine cost $82,000. My insurance company picked up $15,000, I paid $500. The hospital wrote off the remaining $66,000+. Based on the statements I actually saw and what I know to be the cost of bone marrow transplant, I estimate my entire treatment cost anywhere from $750,000 to $1 million. It is frightening to receive a cancer diagnosis. It's just as frightening to think you may not be able to receive treatment. Had I not had family who was not just willing to take me in and take care of me, but more importantly, financially able to do so, I wouldn't have had the health insurance that allowed for the excellent level of care I received or the life-saving bone marrow transplant. My healthcare story has a happy ending, but many people in the same situation don't. And even with the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare as it is referred to disparagingly oftentimes, the system still remains complicated and costly and confusing, which is one of the reasons why I am a really big advocate of making sure that we have a healthcare system that is accessible to everybody, that is affordable, that it has quality care, not junk plans that really do nothing for people. And those are some of the things that we look at in the future that we have to make sure doesn't happen. So again, I am one of the fortunate few, and I just want other people to have the same opportunity should they have a medical emergency, should they have a devastating illness. Not everybody's going to survive a cancer diagnosis, but darn it, they should at least have the opportunity for that to happen. Thanks for listening to me. I hope everyone has a really great holiday season. Before I leave, I am going to do some shameless self-promotion because it is my Cancerversary, and I just want to share with you my book, Rebirth. It offers some inspiration for people going through a difficult time, some strategies of coping, and also if you're just interested in knowing a little bit more about my story, you can find it there. So I have two versions of it. One was originally published in 2009. That is this one, Rebirth. It has pictures inside so you can actually see some of the people that I talk about in here. And this one was published in 2014 to celebrate my 10 years of bone marrow transplant. And it was published by booklocker.com. It's also available for download on iTunes. And both books are available on Amazon.com and Barnes & Noble in both print and electronic versions. So again, thanks for tuning in. I hope some of this has been helpful. I will definitely be talking a lot more about healthcare in the coming year. So thanks again, and until next time, arrivederci.